welcome to tonight's Undaunted, bringing into the news untold stories. I am Onye Opala. Let's begin. Since the war in Amazonia began in 2016, Southern Cameroons have been locked in a bitter struggle for sovereignty against the oppressive actions of La République du Cameroon. What started as peaceful calls for reform in Southern Cameroon has evolved into a full-scale war of independence driven by the systemic marginalization, violence, and human rights violations inflicted on Amazonians by La République du Cameroon regime, and especially the historic injustice of the 1961 plebiscite. What French Cameroons consistently pursuing policies of aggression and repression, veiled under the guise of national security, Amazonians have been left with no choice but to defend themselves in the fight for their stolen independence. The La République du Cameroon's unchecked aggression, carried out with impunity, is characterized by widespread brutality, mass arrests, extrajudicial killings, and the destruction of homes and livelihood. This ongoing conflict is fueled by xenophobic narratives from prominent figures and state-controlled media, which dehumanize Southern Cameroons and incite violence against them. Despite these egregious violations of human rights, the international community has largely remained silent, allowing the regime to continue its campaign of terror. Amazonians continue to stand resilient, determined to reclaim their sovereignty and restore the independence that was unlawfully stripped of them. The hope remains that justice will one day prevail and the international community will finally intervene to bring an end to the suffering and restore peace and dignity to the peoples of Southern Cameroon's Amazonia. Before we get into the rest of the report this evening, let's get the prime headlines.
It's another year and another Independence Day for a people at war. Once again, the time has come for Amazonians across the globe to unite and celebrate their independence on October 1st. A day of pride, hope, and renewed purpose is upon us.
As we mark this significant occasion with cultural representations, dances, military parades from the Amazonian State Army, all eyes will turn to the leader of the revolution.
Fellow Amazonians, patriotic diasporas, I salute all of you gathered around our flag on this national day, our Independence Day.
President Samuel Ikome Sako, on the eve of Independence Day. Join us on September 30th at 8 p.m. as President Samuel Ikome Sako addresses the nation.
Today, as the Never Again generation, we have one assignment: to right this great wrong through the sword of justice, with the flame of our courage and the undying spirit of our righteous resolve. So whether we live or die, let it be for Amazonia.
In these trying times, amidst an 8-year conflict with La République du Cameroon, President Sako's words are expected to spark hope and chart a new direction.
Let me tell you again in a simple language. The person who does not want his neighbor to sleep should expect a knock on his door.
While the date for the war to end remains uncertain, brace yourselves for a roadmap towards a smarter prosecution of our liberation movement, a vision full of promise and determined leadership. Prepare to be inspired as we honor our journey and look forward to a brighter future.
To remind the world of our genocide and the injustice done to us as a nation by France and the complicit international community. Share our story with passion and courage, knowing that no one feels our pain more than we do, and no one knows our story more than those who have lived it, us. Let us fight as one man.
Tune in live across all multimedia platforms and catch this monumental speech only on your favorite TV channel. Don't miss this pivotal moment. Together, let's reignite the spirit of Ambazonia.
This Independence Day, immerse yourself in the words of our leader. Be part of history in the making.
Here are the prime headlines for tonight. Mobile money operator brutally murdered in Sako, and that particular killing has sparked outrage. Tonight on Undaunted, we'll take a look at Bamandha's flooded tears, a story of neglect and injustice in Mile 4 in Queen Bamandha. Gendarmes arrest 135 civilians in Littoral region in search of amber fighters. The Colonial Ezio Famayu threatens Eden radio station for being professional. Despite the threats, the media organ is still allowed to move. Meanwhile, in the African scene, protests erupt in Ghana over economic mismanagement and illegal mining. While on the African foreign scene, I beg your pardon, historic UNGA resolution, world leaders unite against the Israeli occupation. Now let's get the news in full briefings. The people of my 4, Bamandha, Amazonia, are crying out for help as recurrent floods ravage their community, threatening lives and livelihood. The root causes: crumbling infrastructure, blocked waterways, and a glaring lack of government investment. Year after year, the same devastating scenario unfolds. Homes are submerged, businesses are destroyed, lives are lost, worst of all, futures shattered. The colonial government inaction is deafening. No emergency response, no aid, no long-term solutions. The people of Bamandha are left to face the floods alone. Their pleas for help drowned out by indifference. Let's get this sad video. Well, as you can see, you might be thinking it's a river, a stream, or an ocean, right? But no, it's just flood. And that is why the people are moving, because they know that there is supposed to be a road. Now, this is what, and this is supposed to be a bridge. So you can imagine.
Hey, Jesus. Who help him now? What will carry him all? Who remove him? Don't run. See something.
Yeah.
When you're finally safe, you have to run out.
I swear to God.
Disaster is a symptom of systemic neglect and injustice, which has grown into decades of marginalization, chronic underfunding, and politicized priorities. The Amazonian people are not asking for too much, but demand immediate flood mitigation measures, infrastructure development, accountability for government inaction, most importantly, recognition of their rights to self-determination. Bamandha floods are a wake-up call. This is because neglect has consequences. Injustice will not be silenced. The people will not be ignored. And this is a cry for help. Well, today in the studio we have our in-house analyst Barrister Mbeseha, who would, of course, lend a voice of cry to this injustice meted on the people. This is scary. This is scary. I mean, you could see those kids trying to run. I'm actually short of words because I wonder how long the people have suffered this particular pain. I wonder how long they've cried, and I wonder how long they will cry. Barrister Mbeseha.
Thank you for having us again. It's a pathetic story. I think yesterday we were talking about Quen. The topic yesterday was a bomb explosion, some insecurity, for which no administration has been responsible. They are not held anybody accountable. Today is a flood in the same Bamenda called it Quen. And you ask yourself, the only thing that comes out of Bamenda or Quen is bad news of things that were preventable, but they have not been prevented. And so ask, what crime did these people commit to merit these natural consequences, some of which were preventable, to merit this insecurity, some of which is brought to them by the so-called administration. And so we look back again, I said it, I think 2 days ago, about 3-4 months ago, we saw the ambassador of France standing in Bamenda there, promising the people gold and silver in terms of development. The question is, where are they? Where are the billions they promised? It does inside Bamenda town. If they can't do anything as France, right inside Bamenda, what do you expect of other parts of the so-called Northwest? Mbengwi, Mkambe, Wum, nothing. And so you ask yourself, what do we do to merit this? It's a very big city. Do those people pay taxes? Of course they pay. They pay taxes. Are they represented in government? Of course. Bamenda is the headquarters of the CPDM. It is the headquarters of all representation in terms of they have senators there. They have MPs. They have even super mayors. Which of whom is driving in a $1 million Toyota, and so on and so forth. And then it is happening to Bamenda. Let me just call it Bamenda, not Quen it's a quarter in Bamenda. It is happening to that big city with these people sitting there, or they live there. And what for the head of the CPDM, he is also a senator. And what for another one, who is the president of the so-called regional council. They all live there. They all live there. The regional council has been there for at least 3-4 years. What have they done? If the people were so good, all these programs they put out there, if they are not shares of development, how can they explain this happening to people in Quen? And again, you see those children being taken across the river, man-made river, to cross them. I remember, last week we were talking about safety to school. These are children going to school. How do they get to school? Should they send their children inside the floods? Again, this is not need to happen to us. It is not only Bamenda. I think last week we saw people being carried on their backs on the road to Ekondititi to cross man-made rivers, to cross gutters. That have been there forever, for 63 years. And so, Ambassador did not come there to suffer like this. We've got to go. Because Modlodov, he said something about the plebiscite of 1961. All I can say about it is, the plebiscite was a declaration of intention. Would you like to marry this woman, like Honorable Jolly Tume said? I would want to marry you, but there's no marriage certificate. Even without a marriage certificate, the woman can no longer go away freely back to her parents. She must remain there and bear children unwillingly for the captor. As the Francophone says, true, c'est true. We were born in enough. Again, what's happening in Bamida is symptomatic. It's everywhere. But it's very important that it's happening in Bamenda, where the colonial president, France, came there with his 2 legs, promising gold and silver. It's not even 6 months. Where are the billions they promised? Where the so-called super mayor goes around locking people's stores. He must come and open the store and sell. He is a member of the ruling class, where the colonial regional president is sitting right there. So what have they to show? What's the excuse? You say it is rain, of course. Are those things predictable? Of course. Climate change did not start today. Climate change is all over the world. But reasonable governments around the world take precaution, they take preventive measures. You take preventive measures. If it falls at this flowing, what do you do? What measures are in place? Absolutely zero. So it's unfortunate, but it's a reminder to us, Ambazonians, that we have to fight and fight and fight until we get out of this mess. Again, I've said all the time, if we ever join these people, we're not asking them to come and dig gutters in our streets for us. We're not asking them to come and dig roads in our towns for us.
Okay.
We did it ourselves. We're capable of doing it. We're still capable of doing it. It's a marriage that went wrong, a marriage proposal that went wrong. Let everybody, each person go their own ways. Over to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Barrister Mbeseha. And I love how you diplomatically put all of this together. Well, that's not the only pain or the only struggle that Southern Cameroonians are going through at this point. Insecurity is still on the rise. And that will take us to the Tico tragedy, where a young man was ripped off his personal belongings and, murdered. Now, a devastating crime wave has gripped Tico and Mbeseha after Santos, a well-known mobile money operator, was savagely attacked, robbed, stabbed, and abandoned by the road side beside the bridge leading to new layout area in Tico on the 22nd of September 2024. These horrific incidents is the latest in a surge of violent crimes terrorizing Tico residents, with daily trader robberies and escalating fears. According to an eyewitness, he says, I frequently use Santos mobile money services. He was kind, he was calm. Traders are robbed every day in Tico, said a local familiar with the incident. Now, authorities were promptly notified and have launched an investigation. But however, sources suggest Santos likely fell victim while returning from work. And you can imagine. So where are the security agencies, we ask? Where are the police? How come they can only extort money rather than protect the people? Residents are outraged, demanding enhanced security measures, urgent government intervention, international attention to Ambazonian security crisis. The question we are asking here again is, how many more innocent lives must be lost before the global community or even the UN General Assembly intervenes to protect Ambazonians? It's no longer news that Ambazonian security crisis is facing rising armed robbery cases, kidnappings, extrajudicial killings, displacement on a regular basis. Human rights organizations, governments, and media outlets must take notice and condemn the violence and support Ambazonian self-defense initiative, advocate for peaceful conflict resolutions, just like we are doing. Barrister Mbeseha, this is very sad. This is a young man who left home in search of living but couldn't get home. This is highly sad. Let's get your thoughts.
Well, my thought is, those are thieves who did all that. They are thieves. But nobody should lose his or her life today, in 2024, to what Cameroon will call unidentified men. What is the role of government, one may ask? If this guy can be killed in the center of Tico, by unidentified men. The question you ask is, why? Why unidentified men? We all know, right here where we live in Europe and the United States and other developed countries, even in Cameroon, the idea of putting cameras, people put them in their houses, in their front yards. How much does it cost for the Council of Tico to put cameras in those strategic places? Is there they lack the money? Of course not. The camera does not cost nothing. I have it in my house as an individual. And so they have left the people to themselves. Whatever money comes in, it is stolen, it is unaccountable for. Even if you give them the cameras, if you give them money to buy the cameras, they will steal it and go unpunished. And so, how do we get to this system of non-government? This is a system of non-government in Tico. Find somebody will come out there, the next thing you'll find is that they will go and tell somebody called a Dio, who himself does not have water in his house. I doubt if he has even a camera. He wears khaki shirt and come and stand there and say, why will investigate? How will they investigate? Why are they pointers? Even if they have policemen there, properly equipped to investigate, they will investigate nothing. They would rather go and stand on the road and extort money from drivers, extort money from passers-by. Go and mount a Calais, perhaps, in the hope that they would catch 1,000 people and say, you are the one who killed this guy. And we'll not be able to hold anybody responsible. And so that is it. It's unfortunate. The government, so-called in Tico, is not taking responsibility for anything. Absolutely nothing. And so we should not be there. Just as I said in the case of Bamenda, we should not have been there. We're working for better days. That will not occur in Ambazonia. Thieves are always going to be in the community. Wrongdoers will be there. But it is the responsibility of government, be it the local government council or the state government, to ensure security. There's total absence of security everywhere and anywhere in Ambazonia. I ask, where's all the money we're paying for taxes? Where's all the money we're paying for taxes? That's happening in Tico. What has Yaoundé that people got to show for their 63 years of occupation of Tico? When they came to Tico in 1961, there was an active war where ships anchored and left for Europe. There was an international airport where people flew from there to other parts of the world. Today, there's nothing left. We are left at the mercy of thieves, some of whom are actually orchestrated and planned by the administration. What good is the so-called DO doing in that town? I said last week, what good is the state council in charge of a court? There's a court right there with the state council and many others. What are their own use? You see, they ride government cars, have petrol bunks for nothing, go around and drink, and sleep with women, or men, as the case might be. It's unfortunate. We should never have been there. Unfortunately, we are there. But luckily, we are trying to get out of it, and we will get out of it sooner than later. What do you?
All right. We really hope that this is critically looked into. But Barrister Mbeseha, that's not even all. I mean, tonight's report tends to deal with all of the pains and all of the struggles that the conflict, the war has caused. I mean, while we're talking about random killings and insecurities, we're also talking about arrest, arbitrary arrest. 135 Ambazonians arrested. As we know, since the onset of the Amazonian War of Independence in 2016, French Cameroons, or should we call them La République du Cameroun, has consistently pursued a policy of intimidation and victimization towards the southern Cameroons, Ambazonians. In 2017, a French Cameroon journalist was suggesting with impunity that, in quote, Anglophone quarters in La République du Cameroon should be invaded, suggesting that La République du Cameroon forces also invade southern Cameroon's ministers in French Cameroon. He was far from arrested after saying that. As a matter of fact, it seemed he was adhered to, looking at the Ambazonian-focused attack. Refugees' homes and livelihoods have destroyed on a regular basis. They are destroyed on a regular basis. Amazonian stores locked and many more atrocities that we can't even begin to mention. But before I even continue with this particular analysis, let's get this particular video first. No.
Mais je suggère au gouvernement, de mettre l'état d'urgence dans toute la partie anglophone du Cameroun. Je dis qu'on mette l'état d'urgence dans toute la partie anglophone du Cameroun. L'état d'urgence en question a un préalable, c'est qu'il y ait des rafles dans toute la partie anglophone du Cameroun. Même les maisons des ministres ont été visitées. Parce que je vois les anglophones, même chez nous ici, qui sont contents que non, c'est bien, c'est bien, c'est bien. Mais quand on placera une bombe dans une école qui tuera les anglophones eux-mêmes, on ne doit plus négocier avec les terroristes. Mais j'ai quand même l'impression que tous les anglophones sont d'accord avec ce qui arrive à Bamenda dans les attentats. Ça veut dire que même ici à Yaoundé, les quartiers réputés pour être des quartiers anglophones doivent être surveillés. Ce qui arrive à Douala nous parle. Si à Douala on pose des bombes artisanales, il est fort possible qu'ici à Yaoundé on ait également des stations.
All right, so I must also mention here that that particular video has been on since 2017, where that journalist was inciting violence. Now, in that video, you hear, I suppose, a main analyst and journalist suggesting a state of anarchy after hearing such xenophobic remarks that incite violence against the minority Southern Cameroons. The world's top-ranked jailer of journalists did not have that journalist arrested. Well, we know the story would have been different if it was another or other journalist who spoke the truth on what's happening on the ground. And these xenophobic remarks are not isolated incidents, but part of a broader part and pattern of dehumanizing and intimidation from French La République du Cameroon politicians such as Cabral Libri, who have echoed similar sentiments, accusing all Southern Cameroonians of being inherently suspicious or dangerous. Other public figures have gone so far as to refer to Ambazonians as rats and vermin and dogs, using language historically associated with campaigns of mass violence and extermination. Cabral Libri, a one-time presidential candidate of the Cameroons, also suggested that the constitution be suspended and La République du Cameroon declare a state of emergency, which means a matter that is supposed to be prosecuted legally can bypass the law and be prosecuted by anarchy. Whether that was declared or not, it is obvious it was implemented regardless, because as you heard, he suggested that the colonial forces should kill, and we see this play out on a regular basis. Colonial forces shoot on sight, massacres, executions, and mass arrest. Even just a few days ago, these colonial forces killed a man and dumped his body in the Wura River with impunity. This rhetoric of hate has paved the way for French Cameroon forces to carry out violent operations with little resistance from international observers. Arbitrary arrests and mass detentions have become commonplace, as demonstrated by the recent crackdown in the Mungwa division. In September 2024, gendarmes detained at least 135 individuals in Nihomanju subdivision, allegedly for offenses ranging from the non-possession of identity cards to drug trafficking and theft. Many of those detained were innocent youths from Ambazonian community, targeted simply for being in the wrong place at the wrong time, while 21 individuals were released after interrogation. Over 100 continues to remain in detention. Their fates uncertain, their rights obviously violated. The raid in Mungwa is part of a broader strategy of collective punishment designed to intimidate and subjugate the Ambazonian people in the name of law enforcement. The regime continues to exploit its power to suppress dissent, impose fear, and further marginalize the Southern Cameroons. The repeated violation of human rights, from unlawful detention to the destruction of homes, shows that La Republic du Cameroon is not interested in resolving the conflicts, but in perpetuating the subjugation of our entire population. The international community's attention is desperately needed at this point. The systematic persecution of Southern Cameroonians cannot be allowed to continue unchecked. These acts of oppression, fueled by xenophobia, sanctioned by silence, and executed by force, are clear human rights violations that require accountability not only for the individuals who give voice to hate, but for the regime that enables and executes violence against the people they purport as theirs. We are talking about 135 persons, Bryce Mbeseha. So approximately 135 homes would be in tears, not knowing exactly where their children are. Bryce Mbeseha, 135. 135 would finally get to pay some huge ransoms and fines from God knows where. 135 homes currently in despair. We are talking about 135. Bryce Mbeseha, let me get your thoughts.
Well, the 135 is very, very symbolic. It has a meaning. But you go back to the clip you played before of that journalist who suggested that there should be a state of emergency declared in all the Anglophone Cameroon. What is the state of emergency? It just empowers the government to do what it likes, impose curfews, and so on and so forth. That journalist can be prosecuted by Yawande.
But he would not be persecuted, right?
Now, I'm coming to it. He can be prosecuted by Yawande for over speaking. Because what the guy was saying is exactly what they are doing. The whole Ambazonia is under a state of emergency. If we have understood what happens in Bamenda, in Kuma, everywhere, no bikes, no traveling between 6 and 5, no going this, the whole town is occupied. That is a state of emergency already. So that guy just overspoke. It is not limited to Amazonia. He said also that it should be brought to Yaoundé and to Douala and wherever Amazonians escape to, because they can easily identify them. That's exactly what they've been doing. They go to Yaoundé, you remember the idea where they demolish whole quartiers because Amazonians are there, they destroy those things because the Amazonians living there. And they come to this incident where they go and catch 135 people. I saw it on the equinox. Why? Because they suspected there are Ambazonians who have escaped there. People who don't know. The Mungwa they're talking about shares a long boundary with Mbeseha, Tarh, Bangam. In fact, they have no access road. If you want to go there, you want to go to Bangam, to go to Tarh, you have to pass through Lum, pass through Mungwa, pass through Sancho to get there. And so they set it there. You see that man standing there, those gendarmes. They explained to the people popularly. I saw your equinox. They will came here because we know that and those have escaped here. We're looking for them. So they are doing exactly that. And so they have extended. How are they doing it? They are doing Kale Kale. What you just said in your own language, which I've said so many times. Kale Kale is outlawed. It is collective punishment. You catch 185 people, 200 people, with the hope of getting one criminal there. Kale Kale, as it is illegal. It is banned by international law. It is not allowed to happen. It's just lawless. But they're not just doing the Kale Kale. The one they talk about where they took 135 people. You were looking for Anglophones. What they call Anglophones. For doing what? For not having identity cards. What law in the Republic of Cameroon tells you that when you go to bed, you must sleep with your identity card? You know, get on a 580, catch you, adopt you in their trucks, take you to some place where you don't belong, and punish you for not having an identity card. What type of countries are? What is the law in Cameroon? I don't know any law in Cameroon that tells you that you must sleep in bed with an identity card. Even if you must sleep in bed with an identity card, that's Cameroon. It is almost impossible to get an identity card. They themselves have announced this. And so an Anglophone doesn't have one, which you cannot even get, has become a criminal. Yes, there's a law for, if you are caught in the road for not having an identity card, you pay some money, you'll go to court. The money goes to the treasury. All this one, let me learn. This money that's taken from these guys.
I want to just get an information so that I would understand exactly. Just like we have in senior climes, when you're moving around, because there are foreigners around in other climes. We're talking about foreign lands, the UK and the rest. You know, because you're a foreigner and some documentations, you need to be going around with your ID cards. Is that what is expected in Ambazonia? Are you supposed to be out with your identity cards? If you want to go to, for example, if you want to go to a nearby shop or a market to buy food stuff, the local market, are you supposed to go around with your ID cards?
Buying things, if they want to institute a law, that if you want to go and buy something from the market or from the store, you should need an identity card. So be it. But until you're buying something, in the United States here, for example, nobody can stop you on the road. That's your identity card.
Exactly.
Nobody stops you. If they want to put a law that you don't have to buy anything until you produce an identity card, so be it. Your mother and my mom, who are living in their houses, they are going to no market. They are sleeping in their beds. Why are you asking them for identity card in the first place?
Card.
And what I was trying to learn is this. Even if that law is there, the law provides a penalty. If you don't have this, pay this amount of money. Okay. These people they have caught who don't have identity cards, they will pay some money. It is extortion because nobody gives them a receipt. Money does not go into any treasury. So it is organized theft. It is organized theft because see uniform people standing there, organize a Kale, sanction. That place is a smaller place. They brought in a colonel from Douala to come and help them organize the Kale to cash and go funds. After they gathered the 135, whatever number they gathered, the guy from Douala, the colonel, stood and said, yeah, we'll finish with our job. Continue. After they have extracted the people from their homes, carry them in their trucks to their specified destination to extort money from them. Again, even those people don't have identity cards, they will pay money like any other person who is adopted. That money, there's no receipt given to them. It doesn't go into any treasury. And so, coming to that, they don't have the right, I have just said. I don't know any law in Cameroon that says that before you go to the market, you must carry an identity card. There's no law like that. There's no law that when you move on, you must have an identity card. Identity cards used to identify you. All those people stand on the road asking for identity cards for no crime committed. If they suspect that someone has committed a crime and he looks like me, they can look for identity card to look for somebody who looks like that guy or the name. Other than that, 20 of you are in the bus, you have done nothing. In this instant case, these people are sleeping in their houses. In this instant case, they have told us the motive officially. We went there because we suspect Anglophone, whom they call Ambazonians, to be here. They were not arresting everybody. They're looking for Anglophones. I'm showing the Anglophones there. And this will take us to what we have been speaking along there. What brothers and sisters, lawyers, who have come out with terrible ideas that because we, Ambazonians in distress, escape to La République in any form or shape, there's no more genocide because they are not hunting them up there. What would they say? These people from Bangam, from Kupima and Guba, who have escaped the war, the insecurity, to a village near the border. And their reward is capture them, take money from them. Do unto others as you wish it done to you. These are the very people here, from Kupima and Gumba, from the Mongo, where the Makiza was at the peak. The greatest Makiza war was fought in the Mongo, because they have this thing they call plain the Mongo, the thick forest. And they all fled to Tombe. And they are there. One of them become the mayor there. Nobody drove them away. They were citizens that reproduced tomorrow. They didn't even pass with the lycée passé. They simply walked across. There are so many of them. The Professor Ngongo, the historian, he escaped from his village there. His father escaped from there because of the Makiza, from the Basana. They can't walk in the CDC in a corner and other places. They were simply welcomed. What the Cartier in Yaoundé in Kumba, they call it Yaoundé Quarter, who escaped to Cameroon. Nobody punished him in Anglophone Cameroon. And so today, you find it is an official version. I listened to the official version. You saw those gendarmes standing there. They were looking for Ambazonians. They caught nobody else but Ambazonians. If they mistakenly caught somebody else, not even abducted anybody else, they say, no, I'm not Ambazonian, I'm from Chang, I'm from Yaoundé. They were ready to go. And so the clip you played is just exactly what is going on. There's a state of emergency against Ambazonians for no crime of theirs. There might be insecurity there, but who is causing insecurity? There's war there. Who declared the war? And to end it, as Shirale said, we hope the international community has their eyes open. They have their eyes open. And while we fight, we hope our effort will not go unrewarded. We have taken a bit too much of this nonsense from the people who call brothers, from the people who call neighbors, from the people who call friends. This is a bit too much. Over to you.
This is a bit too much. But anyways, this is not just the end of it. We'll definitely follow up with the report, just like we mentioned in the report, about 12 or thereabouts, about 21. Yes, about 21 has been interrogated and released. We still have over 100 in prison at the moment. But then the colonial SDO Famanyu is threatening radio stations for being professional. He feels that they are professional, or he feels that they are not professional with what they are doing. But this report will definitely clear it out. The Eden radio station in Victoria has reacted to the accusations levied on them by the Colonial Senior Divisional Officer for Sako County over the station's reporting on the Victoria City's Council, accusing it of inciting public unrest by issuing a strong response. The radio station, in response, firmly defended its editorial practices, asserting that its reporting adheres to the highest standards of journalism. The Colonial SDO Young Mikala, in a letter dated September 13th, frowned at what he described as Eden Radio's persistence against all actions carried out by the Victoria City Council and particularly the Colonial City Mayor. Mikala's caution pointed to allegations that Eden Radio broadcasts were stirring resistance among traders and general public against tax recovery efforts and other actions taken by the Colonial City Council. The Colonial SDO called for the radio station to respect journalistic ethics and objectivity, warning that failure to do so could lead to social unrest in Victoria. And so you see the contrast. We reported of a journalist who called for killing of Amazonians. And here we have journalists who are trying to be objective, who are being threatened. While reacting to the accusation, the radio issued the response dated September 20th and signed by its general manager. Rejecting the colonial SDO's claim, he emphasized that their reporting is accurate, fair, and following the ethics and ideologies of journalism. The station maintained that it does not create news, but reports on factual events, particularly those involving the Victoria City Council. While Eden Radio cited several examples of their investigative work on the Colonial Council's action, and some of them includes the station reported on the stealing of the office of the first deputy mayor for over 10 years, calling it an abuse of power. This action was only reversed after the intervention from local authorities. While Eden Radio also covered the controversial relocation of a clandestine motor park near 7 schools, highlighting safety concerns for children in the area despite the move issues regarding the well-being of students. The station also reported an illegal construction in Victoria, particularly on waterways and under high-tension power lines. Eden Radio has been vocal about the poor state of garbage collection in the city, just like Undaunted has been doing, and how it has left Victoria in neglect for the past 2 years. But all of this mention just shows that regardless of the efforts that people put in, the colonial authorities would definitely want everyone, especially journalists, to dance to their tones. Those who do not dance to their tones are threatened to be in prison. Of course, we know of Wazizi and the rest who have refused to dance to the tones of colonial government. But we have seen a video of one who has danced to the tune of the colonial government and he's walking freely. Barrister Mbeseha. Here is a contrast of what we are talking about. Let's get your thoughts.
Well, I think the colonial senior divisional officer has no morality to lecture a good journalists. Journalists are not newsmakers.
Obviously.
Journalists are news reporters. But they do more than reporting. They investigate and then report the facts as they are. You should praise the journalists for doing a good job rather than threaten them. The administration thinks that if the journalists,
he would say the so-called good jobs of journalists is probably tainting or denting his image, so he may not consider that as a good job. Don't you think so?
Well, what I'm trying to say is that, you see, a good news to them is news that conceals what they do.
Obviously.
It's news that does not hurt them. And so they believe that if you report according to the data, if you report this thing objectively, quoting the letter, it will cause some unrest. People will be dissatisfied with what government is doing. That is the whole reason why he's writing to warn them. Report what we want, not what it is. Don't tell the public what we have done wrong. If you have done something wrong, turn it around and make it look right. For fear that people, if they heard these wrong things, they might rebel, they might revolt against us. That is not journalism. We thank the the newspaper for their reply. We understand the difficulties they are, reporting even when they were there. You mentioned Wazizi. We don't know where that Wazizi is. Wazizi died, they told us. We have not seen his corpse. Nobody knows where he was buried or how he died. That is an Amazonian. We don't know what was his crime, other than perhaps he was reporting something the government didn't want to hear. We remember the story of Martin Zogo. The Zogo is a similar guy. He was killed in Yaoundé, but his story has made news all over the world because he is a francophone, because he's the Betty man of all. And then his story, his killing makes news. Wazizi, just like the poor Eden reporter, he will probably just eliminate him. But it's good that they've written that letter. The public is aware. We know the danger that these reporters face. We can only pray for their survival because it's a very difficult situation. We have been talking about the international community. The international community depends upon fair reporting to get the news of what is happening. If the Russians want to help us, you don't expect the Russian ambassador to go and sit in Quen, or to go and sit in Batibo, or to go and sit in Dian. A good reporter makes the news. Based on that good reporting, they make their reports to their home governments. So this is a government of criminals who do everything wrong and do everything to hide it. They are accomplices in all the human rights violations. They are actors, direct actors and accomplices. But they don't want this known. And so I don't know how to describe them. Those people in the right full time, at the right moment, they will all face justice. That duo, for example, for trying to hide the truth, concealment of a crime is a crime. Concealment is a crime. If I saw somebody kill you with a cutlass, I took the cutlass and throw it away and cover the blood. I'm concealing the thing. I'm an accomplice. So these people are exposing themselves unknowingly or knowingly to some crimes they don't know. Again, a khaki-wearing Enam-trained guy is trying to lecture a journalist. What idea does he have about journalism? Absolutely no idea. He has no idea. The greatest problem that the Republic has ever had, that will remain with him forever, is the idea of these so-called duos, trained from some school to go Enam, who are the overlords of everything. They settle land disputes. When your electric light is not there, they settle it. When you have no water in your house, they settle it. They have no idea about water generation. They have no idea about electricity. They have no idea about anything other than the khaki shirt they wore on them for going to a certain school called Enam. Until that thing goes away. Even in Bamenda or Boya Okuma, you elect, let us even say they elect a mayor. The mayor can do nothing without going to take permission from this khaki-wearing idiot. His only power is that he has a khaki shirt. His only thing is that he has the decree signed by somebody in Yaoundé appointing him to that place. Again, I was talking to a friend. We live in big towns. I'm in Seattle. Seattle is bigger than Douala. I've never heard Seattle 1, Seattle 2, Seattle 3, Seattle 4. Then you go and hear Bamenda 1, Bamenda 2, Bamenda 3, Bamenda 4, Bamenda 5. All these Bamenda 1, 2, 3, Okuma 1, 2, 3, Douala 1, this nonsense. Each of them is headed, he's supposed to be mayor there, but each of them is also headed by a khaki-wearing man called you, appointed by Yaoundé. The elected mayor can do nothing for he was ever elected without the fiat of these khaki-wearing idiots who know nothing about everything, but they want to claim to know everything in the world. And so these people, until we cannot reform them, the only way we can get free from them is to extract ourselves from them. Because that's the culture they grew in. They grew up in a dictatorship of the proletariat, of the boss. Like, again, to end this, I saw a report talking about these adoptions from Buya, talking about the guys adopted in Monakanda. The poor lawyer who has been fighting to release it. So now release. I saw what he said was on TV. The first thing he did was to thank the administrators in town. Thanking them for what? For people they illegally adopted. Oh, this is lawyer. Tell them, oh, thank you, Mr. Governor. Adopted people in Monakanda for doing nothing. Thank you for releasing some and keeping some. That you intend to carry them to the military tribunal. This is bullshit. This is bullshit. Somebody commits a crime against you, you're thanking him. Because if you don't do it, poor lawyer, maybe they'll come in the evening for you. So it should never have happened, but it has happened. I can say that 63 years of this nonsense is too much. We have to fight and fight and fight until we get out of it. God willing, sooner than later. Over to you.
God willing. All right, well, the threat from the Colonial Senior Divisional Officer for Sako is to stop the press from playing their major role, which is the watchdog function, a function that is exposing the lapses of the colonial regime, obviously. Barrister Mbeseha is at this point that will let you go, knowing that, on Thursday is another time with you here on Undaunted. Right after this very short break is news across Africa.
Thank you for having me once more.
You're welcome. All right, news across Africa. Let's start with Ghana. Ghana's capital has witnessed a wave of demonstrators express frustration over the government's economic policies and the impact of illegal mining on the environment. The protests organized by Democracy Hub were met with arrest by the police, who claimed that the gathering was unlawful and accused some protesters of attacking officers. Democracy Hub denounced their police response, asserting that the demonstration was peaceful. The protests come as Ghana approaches its presidential election in December, with economic concerns being the major issue for voters. How about Senegal? Senegal's political landscape is shifting ahead of the early legislative elections scheduled for November 17th, a new coalition bloc of liberals and Democrats. Well, Tarh has formed, bringing together 40 political parties, including the APR and the RAUMI. The coalition seeks to challenge the government through the Senegalese Democratic Party has opted to join as parties finalize their candidates list. Speculation mounts about a possible dissolution of the National Assembly, making this election cycle particularly significant for the country's future political direction. Meanwhile, still in Senegal, Senegal's Navy disclosed and discovered 30 bodies on a migrant boat off the coast of Dakar, marking another deadly incident along the West African migration route. This follows a similar tragedy earlier in September, where dozens lost their lives when a boat carrying 89 people capsized. The route from West Africa to the Canary Islands is notoriously dangerous, with many fleeing Senegal due to poverty and lack of job opportunities. Investigations are underway to determine the origin of the boat and uncover more details about the death. Meanwhile, in Mali marked its 64th Independence Day on the 22nd of September, with transitional President Colonel Assimi Goïta presiding over national ceremonies. In his address, Goïta emphasized the country's progress in the fight against terrorism and the restoration of basic public services in key cities like Ber, Kidal, and Tisilit. He attributed these successes to military-led stabilization efforts, which have helped reclaim sovereignty over parts of the country. The anniversary highlights Mali's ongoing struggle with insurgencies and the government's effort towards national development. Coming up next is news across the globe. Well, the United Nations General Assembly's recent resolution calling for Israel to end its occupation of Palestinian territory within a year is a significant development in the long-standing Israeli-Palestinian conflict, with 124 countries voting in favor, 12 against, and 43 abstaining. This move is seen as a major win for Palestinian advocacy. However, it's concerning that 54 countries, representing about 28% of all member states, didn't support the resolution. This lack of barking not only highlights a moral courage failure, but also underscores the hypocrisy that continues to shape global governance, which is exactly what the Federal Republic of Ambazonia is suffering. The resolution demands Israel's immediate withdrawal from the occupied Palestinian territory, echoing the International Court of Justice July ruling that Israel occupation is illegal. Israel must be also dismantles its settlements on Palestinian land and provides reparations from damages incurred by Palestinians. Now, key demands of the resolution: immediate withdrawal. Israel must withdraw its forces from the West Bank, including East Jerusalem and the Gaza Strip. What about dismantling settlements? Israel must remove all settlers from the occupied West Bank, including the East Jerusalem. Israel must pay reparations for damages incurred by Palestinians. Amnesty International Secretary General Agnes Calmard emphasizes that Israel's 57-year occupation has brought immense suffering to Palestinians and it's time for international law to be upheld. The US, however, voted against the resolution, which has been criticized as a failure to uphold its responsibilities under international law. This development is crucial in the pursuit of justice and human rights for Palestinians. The international community must continue to pressure Israel to comply with the resolution and its occupation. Meanwhile, Irish president accuses Israeli embassy of Iran letter leak. So the president of Ireland, Michael Higgins, has accused the Israeli embassy in Dublin of circulating a letter he wrote to the president of Iran. The Israeli embassy in Dublin has labeled Higgins' comments as baseless, highly inflammatory, and potentially slanderous. The Irish president was criticized last month when the letter to Masoud Pezeshkian became public, following Pezeshkian's appointment as president of the Islamic Republic of Iran. I beg your pardon. Speaking at the United Nations UN in New York on Sunday, Higgins said he believed that his letter had been circulated by Israeli officials. US seeks control of Russia's S-400 in exchange for Turkey's return, is another report we are looking at today. In a bid to resolve the conundrum over Turkey's acquisition of a Russian S-400 missile defense system that led to its removal from the F-35 program, the United States has proposed that the U.S. take control of the S-400s in exchange for Turkey's return to the F-35 program. The Greek Katerini newspaper reported and said this is still a developing story. Well, although Turkey joined the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter program in 2007 and was one of the partner countries of the program, along with other NATO allies, it was removed from the program by Washington in 2019 in protest of the Turkish government's purchase of the Russian S-400, which Washington said posed a risk to its fifth-generation warplanes and NATO's broader defense system. And with that for a report, we've come to the end of tonight's Undaunted. But before we go, let's take a look at the major stories. Well, tonight on Undaunted, we told you that a mobile money operator has been brutally murdered in Tikal, and it has sparked outrage as well. We brought you the sad report of Bamenda's flood in Mile 4 in Quim, which we say is a story of neglect and just injustice. Meanwhile, about 135 civilians in Littoral were arrested by gendarmes of La Republique de Cameroon, while the colonial SDO for Mayu threatens Eden Radio. We told you about the protests erupting in Ghana over economic mismanagement and illegal mining on African Report, while on the foreign scene, we looked at the historic UN resolution, World Leaders Unite Against Israeli Occupation. And that's it for tonight's Undaunted, bringing you the news on church stories. On behalf of the crew that made today possible, and of course, our in-house analyst, Barrister Mbeseha. It's good night and God bless.